Hello, everyone. This is no, it's not the July 26th, it's the January 12th meeting of the CNCF, it's a Kubernetes conformance meeting. And Clayton and the II team are here. We've got a short agenda. We have some images that are failing, and I think people are onto that. There's a large discussion in SIG testing thread that hopefully that will unblock. There's some Windows containers that don't have that. Another quick one is the empirical containers support. We have 3 endpoints, patch, read, and replace pod empirical containers that is promoted to GA. We either need to figure out if that's an accident or whether they need to get tests in for that.
They do need to get tests in. I think they may just have missed we should have created conformance for it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Who should we reach out to on that, Clayton?
Give me one sec. It's I saw this go across the wire. Give me one sec. Okay, no, I can't find it. Where the heck did that go? I'm gonna have to go dig into it. Yeah, I'm surprised I don't see the thing that turned it on. I'll have to go dig into it.
I was thinking about updating the ket process where everything needs the feature flag and then noting where that feature flag is in the process as a sort of a gate to tie together the API endpoints to their feature flag.
It's interesting because like we have a couple of those, but we could definitely use more metadata binding what you're doing to where.
I want it in the YAML file for the ket.
This is really weird. I don't think this is promoted to GA. It's still listed as.
Well, our logic for GA is it's not in beta or alpha.
Huh.
And so it's in.
So it's a sub-resource of pods, which are V1, but the fact that it's a sub-resource may be confusing the logic. Yeah, it's still alpha as far as I can see.
Okay, so Clayton notes that this is likely alpha. Need to research metadata on why it shows up as GA. Thank you for that. That's an action item for us. Rion, you got your right list endpoints piece here. Make that bigger for the screen. Did you want to speak to this one?
He dropped. Remember?
Oh, he dropped. Oh. Give me a second to get Rion back on. Rion, please rejoin Clayton's on. All right. Let's go down to the bottom, see if we can get a quick summary. I wonder what we can get Clayton's help with.
Oh, it's this saying that it's actually merged.
Oh, it's merged. Oh, that's right.
This is the +3 that
so this is our +3 endpoints. Clayton, one thing on API Snoop itself, it looks like we have a whole bunch of points, but it's not true. We have 3. And that's due to the metadata and on how we've been calculating things. This actually is part of 2 releases. It was updated. And we only look at the latest runs, which means it shows up as 121, all of those endpoints. I'm not sure of a clean way for us to do that other than just note a lot of these were actually tested in 117.
Okay.
I'm open for thoughts on that. Because if you go to API Snoop now, and we go look at conformance progress, and we see all that red, 22
Yeah.
endpoints. So there's 19 endpoints that are just, we're actually testing, you know, except for the 3 that we just updated. And this happens when we update an existing test rather than creating new tests.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have an obvious answer for sure.
Our go ahead has been, we're just going to note it when we communicate it that you had to subtract 19 points from the numbers in order for them to be accurate. The service life cycle test has been one we're pretty close on, I think. Did you want to go to the bottom?
If you just go to the bottom.
Yeah.
Clayton, if you're just looking through the before John raised an issue around whether or not the patch status, even though we're only changing the spec and the metadata, when we're looking at the API Snoop shows that it is actually hitting the patch status. Is that correct? It's not like we're having to change directly the status component. Sorry, if we go back up to the very, this is down the bottom is where I did a check before and after the actual patch is done. But the YAML that we're putting through as part of the change is, if we go back to the very top for the Go code, a little bit further down.
The Go lane one.
Yeah, the Go lane things. There is a YAML part where a little bit further down, where we're adding this, we're waiting for the service to start. And then a bit further down, now we're setting up the change in the actual metadata and the spec. So that does actually patch the status.
Yeah, when you patch status, you can change metadata. Yes.
Yeah, that's okay. It was just a bit confusing of like, when you look at the response coming back, there is a subsection that shows status as being the load balancer, and it's just a little confusing of it's the actual change of just the metadata and the specs, a suitable change.
Okay, yeah, looking down here. Yeah, I mean, if you're patching status, you may mutate both status and metadata, even though it is a status endpoint, and there's historical reasons for that, and we couldn't redefine it.
Okay.
And in the spec, the full object should be returned, but only mutations in status and metadata should be accepted.
Okay. It looks like we're on track for what it is, so we can probably start doing a proper E2E test for it, probably, I'd say, based on your feedback there.
Conformance meeting on the
12th
of January 2021. Reviewed approach with Clayton, and we will start on the PR, the test PR this week.
Thank you.
Thank you. That will give us some stuff in the queue. And then there's the apps. This is a +6 points. It's nice to hit quite a few with one test. And this is again before the PR. You want me to?
Yeah, if you just want to quickly. Sorry, this is actually just looking at the code.
Oh, yeah.
There's some feedback that was given way back in the end of May last year. And I need to look at that particular recording. But really the only thing in the code, really a little bit further up, there is some Docker images that are being used. I just need to find the appropriate proper test images that we can look at switching it out and just making sure it's platform agnostic, because there's a direct select command in there at the moment.
Searching my image. Not the images here. But
Yeah. Sorry, those references would pull the Docker version instead of using the test utils, I think is the.
And we do want to use because there's this library that stores the images inside the EDE framework, and we don't use that here in this type of test, but we would.
Yeah, I've worked out actually how to change the mock test so that it actually does use the new ones as well.
So how can the Clayton help us?
I think there's not. I think that was just more of a status of where I was with the test.
Yeah.
Probably there's real no direct sort of need request for this one specifically. I think we've got already another test that's using the watch tooling, the watch methodology that came up with already merged. So that gives me a template to use for this coming test.
Cool. I'll go back to our, this is one I've been trying to figure out, and it's been here for a while. It's 7 points. And it kind of jumps around. It's probably best to have stuff with Liget. There are some concerns initially. This is kind of your PR. I've just been kind of navigating it. Where was the initial request from him? Because he has a link in his comments down at the bottom where Liget says this comment, which is in the same area.
This to do with the RFC on how the proxy server is seeing the URL coming in. That's what is concerned, I believe.
And so we thought we addressed that. I saw what you had done there, Stephen.
Yeah.
About updating it so it cannot be empty. And his response back here was, things aren't right. I guess this is where I wanted to kind of get another set of eyes, Clayton. Are we adding duplicate data that's not a part of it? Because it seems that we're rewriting it to the right place. It's not duplicating it.
Yeah, I mean, Jordan's asking good questions, which I don't know the answers to, but he probably, I would probably say the implication here is that the behavior in the proxy might be confusing. Ah, man.
There's a different PR, it's an issue I think that's open. Do you have that one handy?
If you go to the code change, the code change, and potentially look at, no, if you look at the version before, can you go back in the history, one version before?
Commits.
Oh, sorry, if we look at the viewer of the file, isn't it? Then can't we go then back to the parent of that commit?
I'm not sure off the top of my head how to get there from here.
Oh, can we just try looking at the view in the file?
View file.
And then can we click, is there a
last commit, last history?
Yeah, if we look on the history.
Let's do this one.
Yeah, the one before it. Because this is my first, is my first attempt at it. And I think this is actually closer to what I believe is what should be used. But because of the question that Jordan came up with, I was getting a little confused on how I was interpreting the feedback from like TCP dump and a few other stuff that I was using to test it with. And then that's where I went down the other track. So does this look a little bit safer or closer to what should be used?
I'm probably gonna have to look at this after this. I can't bring it all into cache, but I could maybe see that. I'll put this on my list of things to look at.
Oh, thanks for that.
I may not get to it until tomorrow afternoon though.
Oh yeah, no stress.
Oh,
Which one is it? What's the PR?
Yeah, let me back out here and drop this in back out until it shows PR. This is the one.
95 to 128. Okay.
This is the one.
All right, I'm going to leave that Slack message unread. And I don't know about you guys, but I tend to do that a lot. I'll have like giant sections of red, and then like I get like the anxiety about having all the red, so that I don't want to go start into it. But when I do go look at it, I mark them all red. So.
Yeah.
Slack is to-do list.
Nice. It's kind of a funny way to tie together Slack and getting something done. This is our last one. Heading options don't show up in the API server logs, and I forget how far we got, but it keeps getting pushed around who owns it. nobody wants it. And I think
there's a document that they're linking to.
Is this it?
Yeah.
So go ahead.
It got pre-tagged at the start with SIG off, and we haven't really had any sort of feedback from them on.
Yeah. It's.
This is not, it's underlying all of the time together of our open API down to the verb matching. And it's been a struggle for us to understand because there are just lots of little one-offs, and this is one of them.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that that everybody reinvents all of these wheels, and we never like anybody else's framework for this, and every framework is different, and everybody's interpretation of the framework. I'd probably say this is API machinery side, but like there are two parts of this, which is we transform in the API machinery from the HTTP methods to what we call like the internal verbs or internal methods, and that is not a one-to-one transformation. And so because we're doing that transformation, I probably would say that we should be logging the internal verbs, not the external verbs. And so that this is intentional.
So if I were to reword that, we should be logging the HTTP verbs, not.
No, sorry. Audit is after the kube stack picks up. So we're not audit logging HTTP requests. We're audit logging kube changes. And because we do that subtle mapping between HTTP and kube, we're losing a little bit of the, like headed options are lost. It's pretty complex to carry them through all the way. So some of this might just be conformance defines the behavior, but I'm not sure that I don't know that I consider either of these. I could buy an argument, someone making that this is actually just the way that kube works, and could be changed, but it's a big change.
So our way forward, rather than trying to create a huge change to support that's showing up in the audit logs, is to probably find a one-off way for counting them. Like in our code, if we hit some, I don't know how we're going to do it, but if we hit this one-off case where head and options, there should be another mapping. Here's one thing that I was really hoping we could do, and it seemed like a really simple change, and we got pushback either from Livid or Lava Lamp a while back, was actually adding to the logs the Kubernetes, what's it called, the API action.
Is this like the extra metadata?
It's that short string. It's the one we use everywhere. That's
the user agent, you mean?
no. And the Open API, it's the
Request API or the request ID?
Sorry, say one more time.
The request ID?
It's not the request ID, it's the operation ID. Operation ID.
Oh.
Because that's what we really want. I'm not that interested in the header options, but if we could add that to the audit, that would fix everything and reduce our complexity of trying to figure out what they were trying to do by, well, what combination of HTTP verb slash verb option inside of Kubernetes. Just give me the ID for what code was called, and that's the operation ID. I'd have to go find that PR, but it sounded like they didn't, whoever there was some pushback on, was they didn't want to increase the surface area of the API for a one-off use case. So I'm not sure if it's worth pushing back down that road again, since we're hitting this option, because it seems like we would have the operation ID at the moment of generating the audit log.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a thorny one. This is I can understand why people are it's like extra work for something that is kind of specific. Yeah, I don't have a strong opinion right now.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just thinking. I don't have a strong opinion on this, but I'm putting myself in the spot of someone who's like, ugh, this is tough. And it isn't like one of those. Both sides of this, whether it's head and options showing up or the operation ID, like there aren't a ton of other use cases clamoring for it right now, so I can buy the argument. What's the option if you can't do either of these in conformance?
It's I don't know. Like right now, we have to look at the audit logs to figure out whether a test is hit. We would have to do something specific for these two operation IDs, and based on the test that hits it, figuring out what something else that's in those calls, and it might be like, I mean, looking at the test, like, so for this particular couple of endpoints, rather than looking at the operation ID, we look at the user agent and note that this particular test, we know it hits these two endpoints manually and change the way we calculate it in this one-off rather than trying to fix the underlying data. That's unlovely, but it is the way to do it that doesn't require us to add the correct logging for the HTTP verbs, or even better, adding the operation ID to the audit.
Yeah, I would probably just say like this is a friction point. If we get a second one like this, maybe we come back. But I think we could.
It's 22 endpoints. It's the whole lot.
Yeah.
This will catch 4.
Well, this particular one will catch 4, but there's 18 other ones that are related. Oh, it's just hidden options. You're right. So.
No, but you'd have hidden options as part of the other combinations, because this is only happening.
Yeah, it's at least 8 more endpoints, so 12 total. That we're going to have to write some pretty gnarly exception code for.
Yeah. Yeah, the audit one's rough. That is something that has come up in other contexts, but because we're doing the mapping, it's a little uncomfortable. And the operation ID is a bigger scope. So yeah. Unfortunately, I have to drop. Were there other questions? I'll follow up on the one, and I'll see if I can.
This has been really useful. Follow up on that one, and see if you can let this other one sit in the back of your mind. If something comes up, that would be great.
Okay.
Thank you for your ongoing and consistent support. We really appreciate you.
Inconsistent support. I think we can all be honest with each other. It is occasional and somewhat absent-minded support. So I will. I appreciate everything y'all have done, and welcome back to the mud of 2021.
Thank you, Clayton. We'll see you
Is there
soon.
something,
Thank you,
more
Clayton.
messages? No,
More
no,
messages?
something just,
Oh,
not
I don't know. Oh, there's chat.
chat.
Oh, Rian, that's okay.
Okay, no, I was just double checking.
All good. Vlad, are you here in the meeting? I just noticed that, where did Zoom go? Oh, he is here. Hi. The reason the dates are all crazy is because,
I fixed them quickly.
thank you for fixing the things. Yeah. At 10 minutes after, we went ahead and called it, and we were just going to move the agenda up. So we moved the dates around to make it fit. And then Clayton showed up, and we just started right into it. How are you? I think he may have stepped away. All right, Vladimir.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey.
We had a little, it's starting at 10 minutes after, we went ahead and tried to move stuff around just to push the agenda to next week, but then Clayton showed up and then I saw you come in. Good to see you. How are you?
Good. How are you guys?
Enjoying the summer. And I hurt my leg on the beach with the boys.
It's
so
a
I'm
good way to enjoy the summer.
moving a bit slow, but it was fun to see all my friends, particularly in Texas, because a lot of their families haven't seen snow. You know, they're only snowed 5 to 7 years. So any child, you know, this will be their first snow.
Yeah. Cool.
I think we went through the agenda, but I also wanted to check and see if there was anything, how things were going with the Sonoboy and integration stuff that might be good touch points while you're here.
Mainly right now, there's a big effort to kind of revamp Sonoboy, like the internal coding. So I don't have anything right now today, but I'm kind of thawing out, trying to figure out what's going on myself. But I'll probably have a better answer to that next time.
No stress. Well, there's lots of stress, but no stress around this.
Right, exactly. There's more to come.
What is well, we have, I don't know if you got to see the board, because we usually kind of start with seeing the board. Performance progress. All these endpoints are not actually all hit just in 121. Just 3 of them are. And that has to do with the way we calculate coverage. In one of the more recent PRs, the release has multiple releases, and that's the only metadata we have. And so we choose the last one. And so that means that any endpoint that test hits, we're going to count it in 121.
Okay.
Because we don't have test runs from 117 to compare it to. So I think we'll just have to update that. But we're still on track to try to do 30 endpoints. And in parallel, we're also trying to get our tooling up to a point where we're using it to do more prow stuff as well for test infra working group, Kate's infra working group,
Right.
To get more vendors being able to support it, because right now all of that's Google. So watch this space in that regard.
Awesome. Quick question. As far as the mechanics of how this works, so you run the E2E binary to collect this stuff, or do you also run other tests outside of E2E?
If you're wondering what provides the data to API Snoop, is that the question?
Yeah. Sorry. Yes.
Yep. I'll do a quick dive into that. Excellent question. Not sharing my own pair, but CNCF No, it's Kate's infra, Kubernetes test infra. So if you go to there and you search for API Snoop in this repository, you'll notice that there are some image pushing, which is our underlying images that we use, conformance gate, conformance all. Pretty sure, which one's the main one? I'll open both of these up. Here and here. So we do use these two. And just to get really clear on where it comes with an API snoop and how those are connected, I'm hitting Apple T, but it's not making a new tab. Huh. Chrome is tired.
Yeah, yes. If you don't restart it every now and then, it.
I think my computer, once it gets too hot.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
So if you have something running in the background.
HTTPS. Must be. What is running? It's Zoom. I don't have a lot
yeah.
running. Is Docker running? Maybe we'll get. I don't see Docker there. Let me stop my sharing.
Sure.
And stop my video and see if that helps. I'll talk, since I'm having issues showing. In our API Snoop repository, we have some SQL code that retrieves the latest jobs, for successful jobs for several EDE runs. And those runs are used, I think they're run via kube test. So kube test goes through and eventually does call the EDE binary with the conformance runs.
Right.
I think you're asking is how maybe that linking together. Whenever my machine calms down, I can try to go back and show you exactly how those work. But the source, the end material out of that is the audit logs written to disk, and those are written and saved to buckets and GCS buckets. So we retrieve those logs from the GCS buckets and their JSON, and we slurp them into a PostgreSQL database. And using all of the information from the raw logs, we identify the user agent, and we've updated, I don't know, this would have been around 1.12, we updated the client Go library calls from the EDE test suite to include the current test that is running.
Okay.
That's because it's otherwise we just know that the EDE binary was hitting us, yay, but we don't know which test. Let's see if it's back open. No, I can't type.
Yeah, I think your video is starting to lag as well.
Yeah, it's funny that I can't. All right, I'm gonna stop recording.
Yeah, it's okay. I was just curious to